Hey guys, this week's episode that you are tuning into is actually highlighting some possibly triggering topics surrounding form of harassments at the workplace and probably even topics of conversation such as condemning, compassion, empathy, abuse of power, different scenarios at the workplaces. And of course, this came up from this episode being reflective on recent events within the pod industry, but also these topics highlighting aspects of concerns that may happen and arise in other industries as well. As a podcaster, and of course, in collaboration with other podcasters, and this guest is pretty dope, truly a compliment to Raw Talk, we decide and choose to comment on these type of matters because the fact remains that they could happen anywhere at any time to anyone. And it is important to be able to have absolute discussions on these matters and shine some light on them and keep it all the way raw and just for the purpose of awareness as well. Again, it's just a warning that this might be a little bit triggering to some of you who may have been at some point, especially in the environment of workplaces of any kind of industry, subjected to any form of abuse or harassment or sexual harassment. And so just want to give that warning. And of course, ever since certain events did arise since then, there have been some follow-ups that did happen with certain parties within this industry, and I have to say I'm very pleased with what I've heard as a fan, first and foremost, and secondly as a podcaster. So thank you for joining into this conversation, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome to Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast, your weekly dose of many discussions and opinions, a show where we get comfortable being uncomfortable. And remember, no topic is off limits. Now let's talk about it. That's okay.
Agendas, I typically veer off, but you keep us on track, and then we'd be good. I want to know. Oh wait, no, sorry, this is your show. My bad. Go. Sorry.
No, you can ask. You can ask.
I was going to say, well, how did you find me? How did you even hear about me?
Girl, Super Trip Talk.
You listened to Super Trip?
Yeah. The
hell? Oh, awesome.
Ben knew about you. Like, even so, I've been podding for like a year. So Ben knew about that. There's so many pods that I knew of like way before. But when you entertain the idea of starting one, you just kind of like, you get your motivation and a certain level of confidence in that space just by hearing conversations. I'm a very confident woman, but this shit is not easy for everybody. Like, to get on a mic and talk your shit. Like, it's just not. So yours is definitely one that I definitely tuned into. And what I love so much about your shows is you really know how to engage your listener and you keep us on our fucking toes. So like when I saw you were kind of come out with Bible stories, it was like, oh, see, I'm trying to find my faith again. This is the way.
Oh, wow, dude. Yeah. I mean, listen, if I'm going to be real, Super Trip is more in line with like who I'd want to present myself as publicly. Mm-hmm. I could have never have thought or imagined that the thing that would make me pop off would be a Bible story show. Like, to this day, I don't even think it's imposter syndrome. I can't even believe it. Like, but you know what I mean? Imposter syndrome is like, oh, you don't believe that people will, which I feel like there's a hair of that, but it's like outside of that, logistically, I could have never have imagined I would be hosting a Bible telling podcast.
I hear you.
That's just like what you plan for your career, like let that go. Let the expectations go, because where you'll end up, chances are it's nowhere near the blueprint that you thought you were going to follow. Yep. So like you might as well just throw it out and just like,
it's true.
Just like, buckle up for the ride and like, yeah, keep your head down and keep working. But like, eso de anticipation, whatever, like throw it out the window.
No, mommy, it's funny. I tweeted something about this a while ago and I didn't translate. I was like, I'm not going to fucking translate what my mother has always told me growing up. But she would always say, and it's so funny, I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to say this. She used to say, más sabe el diablo por viejo que por diablo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's the wisdom, the devil knows more because of the wisdom, not because of he's being the devil. And it's like, it's so true. It's like, You have to be wise with it. Like I could lead a certain path, and then it's gonna go where it's gonna need to go, where it's gonna be meant to
Más
go.
sabe el diablo por viejo que
Por
por
viejo.
diablo.
That there you go.
Yeah,
That's the one. I just totally
yeah,
butchered
yeah.
up. La Chado's gonna be mad at me. La Chado's my mother. I always like reference her on the show.
Does she
Um,
listen to the show?
no, she don't. She's like, you're probably talking about sex. I'm like, I'm not. Why would make you think I'm talking just about sex? Like sometimes I do, but why did she's like, because you're single and I know you. You're my daughter.
Not only that, she probably knows how the podcasting scheme is. It's actually so disappointing. Like when I hear that girls on a mic starting a podcast. Well, not to be like to be honest with you,
Yeah.
it's oversaturated. So the fact that she even assumed that was like right, like a pretty girl with a microphone. Oh, she's talking about sex. It's like
Yeah.
so annoying.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I didn't want. I would never personally me. I mean, I also don't have sex, but like I wouldn't do a show on that because it's overly saturated.
Yeah. So
Like,
I like I don't mind talking about sex. Ever so often I'll talk about sex. So oftenly I have it. Sometimes I don't. But I don't mind talking about it. I just didn't want to create a platform that just does that. I wanted to be able to create a platform where I could talk about
smart.
different stuff. There's more to a woman who is in her for me mid 30s and single and what have you. Like it's not just about I can definitely do all of that and speak on it, but that's not all that's about me. So
Hmm.
I'm here for the different topics and topics that not maybe everybody's gonna feel comfortable talking about,
Agreed.
which is
I'm in the
like
same. I'm in the same
there we
camp, girl.
go. Exactly. And let me say this: yours is one, and there's only two that I listened to that have really. I wanted to get in touch again with my faith, and there's only two parts that lead me that way. That it's actually going to engage me to pay attention and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this. I mean, you're
What's
talking
the other
to.
podcast?
It's called the Forgiven Podcast. That's the one.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
yes. And for me, it's like you're talking to a girl that grew up in the church. You're talking to a girl that I had to do all my sacraments. I had to go to Sunday school. I read the Bible then. And then it's like at some point, possibly maybe after my first divorce, I fucking lost my way with my faith. And so I'm trying to get back to that and not just go to Sunday mass so that I could get a discount from my child's school.
God bless. Listen,
Like I'm trying here. I'm trying to get back
and
into it.
our Father sees that.
Yeah.
You know,
You know?
if you feel like that pull, like something's missing or something that you once had is no longer
Mhm.
there, that's our Father calling your name, saying He
Yeah.
misses you. You know,
Yeah.
like He's calling. He's been calling. So like
Yeah.
I know you hear it.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't have to just be like this very strict one line to walk on, right? It's like there's so much to it to having faith, and I have to realize that. I have to realize that I can still have faith and I could still have my beliefs and still live my life like I need to, or like I see fit for me.
Daisy, it how
Girl,
do I
talk about
say
it.
this?
Talk about it.
It A relationship with God only enriches your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't separate.
I know.
Like it literally gives you
It's a
something
it's this
worth
fucked up
living for.
mindset. Yes, it's this fucked up mindset that I had at one point.
It's not no, but also I don't want you to judge yourself for it, and I don't want and I don't want others to judge
Right,
themselves
right, right,
for it.
right.
That's why I want to pause you there. But I'm happy that you're being vulnerable enough to admit that because it is the truth. It's an uncomfortable truth that's what separates us from God a lot of the time. It's this feeling that, oh, I'll do it when I'll be able to sacrifice all these other things. It's like, what? No, huh? Someone else sacrificed their life so that you can live freely the way you are. I mean, I'm a
Mhm.
Christian, I believe
Mhm.
that Christ died for our sins. Like, it's already been done. Inviting God, no, God invites us to live with him, not the other way around.
Right. Right.
So when you take that on, it quite literally enriches your life. It's not a sacrifice
Yeah.
to, like, oh, now my life's going to have all these limitations. I can't do this, what? No, when you obey the word, it's not like we obey because it brings us joy.
Right.
We don't obey because we're afraid we're going to hell. That's the misconception. It's this,
Mhm.
the second you flip that, oh, it's smooth sailing.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You're not bound by the world, worldly things, worldly logic.
Mhm.
Because once you accept God, once you accept the divine as your North Star, you see that, oh wow, this requires another muscle that has nothing to do with my mind and what I think. It's my will and my soul and my
Yeah.
love that connects us. That
Yeah.
so the second you make that flip, it makes sense. Oh, this isn't limitations. Oh, I'm not restricting myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm like freeing myself, you know?
It's true. Y'all, just so y'all know, we're just going to start it off. And I'm leaving this right in the beginning because this was a whole word. And y'all know how I feel about whole word. So, welcome back, everyone, to another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Ms. D. And today I am joined by Brianda
Ay,
from.
Brianda. Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Misty.
I love her from Bible Stories. But and here's the shit. Everybody knows I put in agendas to everyone, and the first line says, "Hit me with the Bible stories. What is wrong with the word with the world?" That's the first thing I wrote in the agenda.
Oh, well, there you go. I wrote it down for you. I already did it.
You did it. It's so crazy. I so believe so much in alignment. There's just so much alignment in the world and in the universe, and it's just all just falling together for me in
I
so
mean,
many
you say
ways.
alignment. Sorry to interrupt, but you
Yeah.
say alignment during a time with so much division over in the Middle East and over in Europe right now.
Mhm.
Like, it's what's going on with the world is actually like you would think it's not an alignment,
Mm.
but even then it
It
is.
is. I know.
It's like
I heard
shifting your
that.
perspective, you
I
know?
heard that. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, if you guys have been living under a rock and you don't know that voice, like I said, it's from Bible Stories. Brianda, the amazing host of an amazing podcast that has been one of two who have been helping me find my way back and just enriching my faith. And, just in this amazing life that I like to consider I'm living in my true self. And I'm so happy you're here with me to have this conversation. You already know what type of conversation we're gonna have because we I kind of like I was like, I need somebody to
Yeah.
come on and talk to me about this. So I'm excited with this. But that was also just such an impromptu, like, Brianda stylish scripture right there. So I'm excited for that too, that we're just kicking off with that. But I want to just dive right in, right? I want to be able to, address the elephant in the room of the industry we're both in.
Oh,
And
which elephant? Which one do you
well,
want to
well,
address?
let's begin. The lack of women empowerment. I want to be able to address that because I do think it exists. It's just not so easy to ignore it when it doesn't exist. And I think we need to just dive right in and discuss whether there is women empowerment, whether there isn't, whether we choose when to believe in it, and how that's been affecting the space of, for one, we're in the podcasting industry, but two, just any industry in general, to be honest. Your thoughts
Mm-hmm.
on that? The whole concept of this whole women empowerment.
Concept of women empowerment, much like like it doesn't matter. You could substitute the women empowerment movement with any other word, feminism, BLM, uh, Israel versus Palestine. Like you could sub it in with whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and my answer would still be the same. As a concept, I understand its gravity. I understand that it's real. I understand that it's actually going on. But I also I also want to redact something. Take away the Israel Palestine thing. Throw that out. I
Okay.
meant like movements. I meant like
Mm-hmm.
because that's not a movement. That's a current event.
Mm-hmm.
I meant like movements like BLM, feminism, Me Too, whatever you want to call it, Time's Up, all these different movements as a concept, they're great for humanity and they do push society forward. But unfortunately, like many things, they become commodified and co opted and turned into organizations that then make money and people profit off them. And like, because, I study the book, I study the word, I study people through my biblical studies. I understand that people are painfully flawed and fucked up. Like, so what happens when these organizations start turning into capitalistic gain?
Mm-hmm.
It gets a little corrupt. So with women empowerment, the same applies to them. What starts as a really wholesome, understandable, like reasonable righteous movement then turns into something else,
Yes.
where we're actually just we're not empowering, we're disempowering women,
Mm.
and we're encouraging women to do acts and things in the name of feminism, in the name of liberation, and it's really women harm and subjecting women to dangerous environments and dangerous situations. So
Mm-hmm.
like when you say woman empowerment, of course I'm with it. And like, gosh, if women aren't empowering women, how can we trust that any other group is going to empower women? You know what I'm saying? If it starts with us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but unfortunately, I don't see too much of that, especially in recent times.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I see it in my immediate circles. Like my women mentors mean everything to me. Everything I've ever had in my career
Mm-hmm.
and also in my spiritual life, even fucking my romantic lives, I've always been introduced by my girlfriends to boyfriends. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like by my girl friends. People
Friends.
always say I look like a lesbian. I always have to distinguish what I mean by that. But like, women around me have been empowering me, and I want to. That's what makes me want to also do what the women around me do. Like, I want to hop on smaller pods. Like, and I say I am a small pod. You know what I mean? I say
Yes.
that as it's like I want to like be able to meet women in the space so that I can then maybe like nurture them or bring them
Mm-hmm.
up, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't even care about bringing up, to talk to them. I love
Right.
talking to women. I love talking to women critically. I like discussing uncomfortable things. A lot of the time, oh, I'm about to go in right now. Damn,
No,
I'm
no,
rambling.
no, no.
But
This
like
is
women
uncomfortable
think,
space. Let's talk about it.
listen, a lot of the times, like I hate, and this is another reason why, this is why I disdain like sex podcasters. No more. We don't want any more of it, because unfortunately, there's such an oversaturation of it. It seems as though that's all we can do
Mm,
is like talk about sex.
mm,
And we're so much more than that. So like that, on that same token, a lot of times people think that women can't talk about uncomfortable things. Women can't have discourse without being seen as bitches or something. It's like, no, we can disagree. We can have these conversations. We're not these dainty little flowers that you think we are.
mm-hmm.
We got grit. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We're dynamic. We can discuss uncomfortable, difficult topics that are outside of our vulvas. You know what
Hey,
I mean?
yes.
So that's empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
That's empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Empowering you to deviate from what society pigeonholes you to do and to
Mm-hmm.
be and to think how you like. No, liberate yourself from that. That's empowerment.
Absolutely. I'm here for this conversation. I knew there was going to be more to this, and I'm so happy it's with you. So let me be very raw with this shit, all right?
Mm-hmm.
My double dose of raw talk, the moment someone saw raw talk in it, it was totally, so is it going to be a sex podcast? No. First of all, let me be very honest. I am someone who's very comfortable with my sexuality and with my conversations of sex. So I don't need a whole podcast to talk about sex. I will talk about sex whenever the hell is an
Yeah.
opportunity to talk about it. Let's just put it at
Mm-hmm.
that. That's not to say I don't tune into podcasts that do speak about sex. Sure, cool. But if I go
Mm-hmm.
to a podcast that does talk about sex, and especially if it's women driven, I want to be able to believe that I could learn something more from it, even if it is from other people's experiences. Otherwise, then I'm just going to stick to my performances and my experiences, because then what exactly are you giving me? To your point, there is more to offer. There is more in the spaces we're entering to be able to not just talk about, well, the little rendezvous I had last night. Like, sure, I could talk about that, but what am I learning from it? I'm at the
Yeah.
place in life where I needed to get in here. Like, yeah, there's a whole vulva, sure, but I needed to also get in here. I need this level of stimulation, of enticing, I need that power now. Like, that's where 35 has led me. Since 30 pretty much, but in the last 5 years at least. But I do hear what you're saying, and this is the part for me that I feel it's like, yes, it's a movement, yes, it exists. I'm totally for it. I just find it interesting that we are still in a time, and we've recently seen it, and I'm going to detail where this conversation is stemming from. In the podcast industry recently, a podcaster from a particular podcast did come out and say that she felt uncomfortable during a recording during an episode because she felt she was being absolutely sexually harassed by the head of that network. And I just didn't see enough support. I did not see enough voice on it. And the part that I have a problem with it is that I don't know if women truly understand, to what you just explained, what it is, the concept to you. And I love how you said that. I don't understand if women truly comprehend what the concept of women empowerment can actually encompass. I don't know if they really understand that by you saying, no, you were wrong, denouncing a person who behaves a certain way in that particular situation, it is, one, you're stating what is right from wrong. And two, that in itself is women empowerment. You are not just going to sit there and just say, you know, well, if they felt this way, cool. But you're not really giving an empowerment and I just didn't see the empowerment at all, to be honest.
Yeah, well, what we were just talking about, you know, how sometimes empowerment looks uncomfortable and gets really ugly and can get, yeah, this is where that comes in. Because I mean, the listeners who don't you left it pretty vague. We're referring to what happened with the See the Thing Is
Oh, See the
podcast.
Thing Is podcast. Yeah, we could definitely
Yeah,
dive right into it.
where one of the co-hosts left the show months ago, Olivia Dope,
Dope.
because she felt sexual harassment take place while she was pottying. The podcast is still up if you want to like see it. Anyways, but not to get into that. This is what I mean by actual women empowerment gets really ugly. Like, you know what denouncing that man in their own network would have done? It may have cost them their job. But guess what? That's what women empowerment is. Dude, we're like third wave feminists. Do you know what first wave feminists had to go through and had to endure and had to sacrifice? That's women empowerment. Like free the nipple, free, like walking around braless. Yeah, it looks cute. It looks fun saying it and going to the protests and the walk. Yeah, it's trendy. Yada yada yada. Yeah, this was before social media. No, these women actually sacrifice jobs, their reputations, their family to support these things. So, what does women empowerment look like? It looks ugly sometimes, and there's sacrifice. If denouncing a man for doing something inappropriate and admitting your own faults in it, that would have been so dope, you taking accountability and responsibility for what happened as a woman, from woman to woman, and denouncing them in his own house. How dope would it have been? What an opportunity. But guess what? It may have cost him the job. But how amazing would it have been to have that happen?
But that's the thing. And that's the thing. I'm glad you're saying this. And I totally, and just creating the scenario to give a picture to the listeners, you're totally right. I totally missed the point of saying who it's about. It is absolutely about Joe Budden. I've actually mentioned Joe Budden in past episodes here. Because I've actually been a fan, right? And when you start to realize this industry that he's in now with the podcasting and you know what he's known for in the podcast industry, but you see other things that have come up with him involving him. When you're on TV, I've watched every single one of his reality TV shows involvement. When you're in relationships, you hear all of that, right? And so as somebody, as a fan, I have an opinion, and my opinions continue to develop with these type of upcoming events and news that come out with him, right, involved. When it comes to this particular podcast, it's funny because you're saying, you know, may have cost them their jobs or not. You were taking a chance had you denounced him. But a lot of the times, and I'm stuck on this, and I believe in this, it's not always what you say, is how you say it. They could have taken an approach where they actually could have had him in the room and denounced his actions, because if you notice, no party said that's not true in those edits, that's not true, that didn't happen. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's claiming the allegations, well, not allegations, what Olivia's truth is in her story of what those edits consisted of, because they edited certain pieces of the episode out that would have been proof of what she was saying happened, right? None of them, not Joe, not See the Thing Is, co-host Mandy and Bridge, none of them said that's not true. None of them said that. So if you were not going to deny those claims, if you were not going to sit there and say none of it was true, right? To not bring your former co-host down, to not make her look or sound like a liar, then why not just denounce those actions and those behaviors with that person involved as well? It's an assumption that if you do speak up, whether it is podcasting industry, whether it is in any industry, you're going to lose your job. And a lot of the times, that is what does happen and has happened, but it's not a guarantee. And I think the reason why I'm so strong on this is because I've had personal experience where, for one, I have totally been harassed, and two, I have totally spoken up, whether it is for myself or for others. And sure, it's cost me promotions. Absolutely, it's cost me opportunities. But I do believe that it's either you stand for something or you stand for nothing. You know, they keep saying, we were all here, we all checked in. Well, maybe you should have done more than just check in. Maybe somebody should have gotten up and said, stop the recording. This is completely out of control. We cannot do this. You need to leave. Like, this is out of control. You're totally disrespecting her. I don't know if you saw the clips. Did you see the actual episode before they brought it down? Because I heard they brought it down.
And I don't watch the show. I got to be honest with you. I did see
I
the
listen.
episode. I saw the announcement episode, and I think they were an angel on YouTube, because I love YouTube so much. They made they literally just took out the parts that were in question, and I was like, oh, thank God, because I cannot get through an hour of the show. But it doesn't matter, because a lot of people like it. That's not even me being like, it's not the show for me.
Right, absolutely.
But I know that other people enjoyed the show. It's just not a show for me. So, I watched the part that counts, and I watched the response video. You know what I will say is, and this is in defense of one of the girls, Mandy, who's been on my show and who my business partner is affiliated with directly.
Yeah.
What I will say is, I truly do believe that she took out those parts because she thought she was helping.
She said, I made an executive decision.
Yeah, no, and it's and although the optics make her, it criminalizes her. I will say from watching it, and my intuition is like pretty strong, I really do think she was trying to do the good thing. And that's something that I saw. So because of my criticism, I saw like a lot of my listeners and a lot of like people DM me and message me like, yeah, fuck her, and I'm like, hold on.
No. That's not
okay, I'll never be that influencer. And by the way, I only troll people when I think when it affects either God or women and children. Those are my only two reasons for me to, and maybe pop stars. Like if people are attacking pop stars and they're my pop star, I'll like troll them for sure. So those three things only. Other than that, I suck with social media, really. I only promote my shit and then I leave.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
You mind so like that pays you.
Yeah, exactly. But when I saw people being like dogpiling, that's another thing on social media I would love to talk about, like dogpiling, where once you gain some influence, your listeners end up wanting to like kind of parrot what you think, what you say or whatever. It's your responsibility, influencers out there and like people who gain notoriety or have clout. It's your responsibility how you speak to your people, because I literally said, once that person messaged me, I was like, hold on. What we're not going to do is dogpile on Mandy, because now we're going against even what we're saying, women empowerment, right? Like you have to be that, like tread lightly and responsibly. I mean, when you're not trolling, right? Like trolling is just fun. And like, I don't know. I think I don't know. I'm a shitty person. So I'm not here to like say I'm like Virgin Mary. I'm like better than thou. Yeah, exactly. But listen, dogpiling is not the way to go. So I have those ample criticisms, but I also have my notes where I'm like, oh, this isn't their fault. Like it, because at the end of the day, the real villain here is Joe Budden.
Right. He's the one who caused that.
He is the one that caused this division in the first place. He is the one who acted in a freaking embarrassingly inappropriate way around someone who did not have the same rapport as him. Goes with the women who he was speaking in a way that only two women were comfortable with. Unfortunately, you know, kind of in restaurants, it's like the coldest person in the room wins. Like if they think it's cold, everyone's got to bite the bullet. It's kind of like that. Like, no, in situations where you're working and stuff, no, the person who you don't know, the person who doesn't know you acclimate yourselves towards that person. It's not like you make the other person acclimate towards you. Like, no, it's the other way around. This person was visibly uncomfortable. You misread the room. And you got to take responsibility now.
Yeah, she was definitely uncomfortable. And this is the other piece that I want to notate. So for one, when Mandy did say it, and let me be very transparent on something. I have listened to every single one of Mandy's podcasts. I am a subscription of a official box owner. Like, I I can't get tired of her voice, no matter how she says people like criticize her voice. I fucking love her voice. Here's my thing. Um, and this is the part where I think it gets a little like with the blurred lines. For one, you know, the part where they say, she you looked uncomfortable. I would have wanted more insight as to what is it that made them think she looked uncomfortable. I have a career in healthcare. And I don't know if you know this or if anybody knows this, but I'm going to educate you a little bit more. One of the main things at the point of entry at any interaction, especially in hospitals, is we screen for any type of domestic violence. We screen for any type of, scenarios like that if someone might be in harm's way, right? And so training for us, what it looks like is noticing the type of eye contact someone might be making when they are in an uncomfortable situation, certain movements, certain gestures, certain tones, certain things in the conversation that we have to be on the lookout for. I've been in scenarios where we've had to aid someone who's been in danger or who's been in an uncomfortable situation. So when I saw that video, because I did not pay attention to the podcast video wise, only audio wise, when I saw that video, I feel like her eyes said it all the entire time. I feel like she was looking more than just uncomfortable, and she was looking constantly to the women like, help me. The way her eyes and the way her body was positioned.
How do you wait? You know what I know it's so nutty is that I was reading the comments, LOL, and on Reddit and stuff, and like a sizable amount of people were saying that she didn't look uncomfortable. And in my head, I went, "Oh, we got a
What?
whole bunch of criminals in the building." Like,
What?
what? Like, that's wild. That's
No,
wild.
she visibly looked uncomfortable. The way she was positioned with her arms, the way she kept looking.
And also, it doesn't matter because literally everyone in the room felt it. So that completely
Everyone.
like you guys are wrong. Like that's not even what's being in question, but it's so annoying how they'll use it in defense of the people that they fuck with.
Right.
They'll defend the wrong things.
Right. And so I want to dig deeper into this. The abuse of power. I'm going to call it that because that's something that I've felt in the spaces I've been in the industries I've been in. And I feel like when you're dealing with someone who's in a quote unquote leadership role who thinks he could just say whatever he wants at whatever given moment, whether it's someone who is seasoned in the industry or in the space or not, for him to have behaved in that way, I feel like there is a sense of abuse of power in that moment, where he, as the head of as a head of a network, stepped into a room while his staff was recording and made the entire thing uncomfortable for everyone, right? And no one felt like they could speak up at that moment in real time to say stop.
That's a bad leader. Listen, I've worked with so many. Listen, oh my god, my ass is asleep. Sorry, my ass is asleep. But listen, what you just described are all the attributes of someone who is a bad boss.
Yes.
People don't feel comfortable enough to tell you things. That's bad business. Like, listen, we've all had bosses, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I understand that sometimes it like you can get nervous talking to them, or like, I coño, like I don't want to like I want to always be on my P's and Q's when I'm around the boss. Yeah, that's great. But if you're a boss and your employees are scared to admit something to you or like to talk to you, I'm sorry. Why? Where do you think that fear comes from? It begins with you. So why are you making your employees feel uncomfortable? B, why do they feel uncomfortable to talking to you? There's something, you're not a good leader. You're not leading. And then he's coming off of back-to-back problematic weeks for him with his other podcast, his bread and butter, the Joe Budden podcast, the Rory and Mal leaving. Like that doesn't make you look good. You're back-to-back. It's like, and you're constantly at the fall of even yourself. You're getting in your own way clearly. Like it's you. The problem is you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately your soldiers are taking some serious hits right now because of your actions.
Right. Yeah.
Where is he? Has he even made a statement or something? Like nothing?
He allegedly did come out and make a statement. I stopped listening to the JBP and I decided to listen into this apology. The apology was very politically correct in the sense of a very, let me make a statement from a leadership standpoint, as in a we type of approach, not as in an I. So it was more so him speaking as a network, not so as the person who caused this. Which I thought was also very poor to have done, because then, even though there were other people in the room, now you're kind of indicating by speaking in we, like as if it was everyone's responsibility to not make her feel uncomfortable.
He
And what
hasn't posted. He hasn't addressed, by the way. I went on his social medias.
Oh, so like that right. So he did it on an episode recording. He said it on a recording. He didn't actually put out a statement.
Oh, I didn't
But
know that.
here's the thing. Like you, I was looking for an actual written statement. I wasn't looking for you to have conversation and make it part of your podcast, sir. You are not just the face of Joe Budden podcast, quote unquote.
Right.
You're the
Like,
leader, CEO of a
why
whole
does it?
network. You
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'll make a statement, but I'll also get ad revenues on it.
thank
Like,
you. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. No, this is not. This shouldn't have been an episode. You're not like, no, apologize. Apologize first of all to them directly.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
oh God, that's the thing about content creators in the content era. It's like not everything has to be content. And let me tell you, apologies in terms of endearment
Mhm.
shouldn't be.
Oof. Oof. Ooh, with a whole word right there. And that's the thing. Like, I feel like when he took the approach of the we, I feel like he's taking his entire team with him. Like, oh, we all fucked up. Let me be honest about something. I think everyone at that moment had a responsibility to stop the entire conversation, because clearly it made everyone uncomfortable. It was not just her, everyone visibly looked uncomfortable. But my problem here is, you, as the CEO, as the head of this network, you needed to own that apology and put out an actual statement and say, I messed up. I did this. I did that, or I shouldn't have done that. I own this, and this is what I'm going to do moving forward. And I think that would have given maybe a few people a chance and a space to have a little bit of respect for him still, if that's what they wanted to do. And maybe he could have earned that. But because he didn't do that, I feel like he just dragged everyone a little bit further down with him by just putting content out saying, oh, we didn't do this, we didn't do that, we did this, we did that. Like, there is no we. You're the one who made those statements, those comments. It's you. Like you said, he's the problem. You are the problem, Joe Budden. You are the one who fucked up here. And you just brought everyone into a situation to make someone else feel uncomfortable. It's just how I see it. That's where my statement and my commentary is on the abuse of power. And I felt at that point it was an abuse of power from him, because it's like everybody was at a 2.5 second mark. Everybody was innocent bystanders and had no idea what he was going to do in that moment until he just started doing it, and it was all recording. You kind of blindsided everyone there with how, like, if you're having conversation, you just throw in there, oh, I just want to fuck you, or I'm trying to, like, what, like, what? You're catching everybody blindsided, off guard. And so when I hear the two co-hosts who are still there saying, well, this is our livelihood, I get it. I get the concern. I get the concern itself. I get corporate, the corporate concern. But maybe not. Maybe it would not have cost you a whole contract. Maybe it would not have cost you, because at the end of the day, everyone is being viewed. Everyone has followers. Maybe it would not have cost you an entire job. And so it does break my heart. And that's why I wanted to jump right into the whole woman empowerment, the whole abuse of power shit. Because it's not the first time nor the last that we're going to see an abuse of power affect women at the workplace. It's not going to be the first nor the last time that we're just going to see a man's approach affecting women at the workplace, at any workplace, really. And I, on a very personal note, like I said before, having been at the end of some form of harassment and having been at the end of having to stand my ground and defend myself and defend right from wrong to a leader, to a boss, and knowing what it's cost me, I just see that sometimes you have to take your chances, and it is worth it to be able to say, no, I don't stand for that. That's
Period.
not right,
No,
or
yeah.
that's fucked up, whether they like to hear it or not. That's just what it is for me. And I could not talk about it here. Like, I had to get it out. One last thing with this. I have a notation here that says the lessons learned from this. I want to highlight one last thing on this. And I really wish the whole, now what you say, how you say, it would have really taken precedent when it came to the response. And one of the things I saw was lacking in that moment, and I really wish that there is some form of light at the end of the tunnel with this, is empathy. I did not see enough empathy or compassion to it. I felt like the response itself was more so to clear things up, but I did not feel a true sense of empathy towards the person who was at the bad end of the stick. And so I want to shine some light on the concept of empathy with you. And how is it that we can really make people understand that it's not a form of weakness to be empathetic towards someone, and there is a difference between sympathy and empathy?
Mm. Well, you're catching me on the spot here, but empathy. No, 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 but I like it. I like being
Yeah.
caught off guard. In fact, I like I enjoy it. I have such boring conversations, and like those are the good ones when they make you think. Um, I think that so you ask that, and I don't automatically go to, you're right. A lot of people aren't empathetic. And they didn't show empathy. And in my head, I'm like, but when they did it, they thought that they were operating from a place of empathy. You know what I'm saying? So how can
Mm-hmm.
I give them some kind of benefit of the doubt to see what new information comes from?
Mm.
I got it. So when you empathize with someone, you in a sense have to adopt some of the pain they felt. That's what inspires, that's what compels you to act with compassion towards whoever the um, the group or subject in question is, whatever that may be. Like
Mm-hmm.
you, in order to feel true empathy, to understand someone else's suffering, you have
Mm-hmm.
to adopt a little bit of it. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people don't want to do that
Mm-hmm.
because it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to empathize with others, especially when you haven't felt it yourself. But when you have experienced yourself and you don't empathize, that's what kind of hurt are you dealing with that you couldn't even go back in there to like
Mm-hmm.
feel how I may have felt.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the root of empathy, and the reason people don't exercise it is because it's uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
it's vulnerable, and it's scary.
Yeah.
But vulnerable, scary things on the other side of that is something so beautiful.
Yeah.
Every single time
Yeah.
overcoming those things, the bigger picture is so much more profound than
Mm-hmm.
what's happening today, now in the immediate.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we need to think about that bigger, grander plan, that bigger, grander idea. I
Yeah.
don't know.
You cannot know. That's actually exactly key. I think what may have happened in that moment, and this is why I want to put empathy out there, because I think people are scared of it. So I think the easier way is to just feel sympathy for people who may have experienced something, who went through something. Oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And boom, that's it. That's where they stop. I think when you are empathetic and having to actually feel what another person may have felt at that moment, or actually be in a situation in real time to be empathetic and put yourself in a person's shoes, I think is very sometimes not only scary, but maybe even intimidating or sometimes even triggering for people. And I get it 100%, but I also do feel like you're not going to truly understand. And so maybe it would have avoided the many questions of, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And this checking in that was done, had there been a lot more empathy in that moment, and had there maybe even been empathy in the response. I do think that maybe there is a little bit of empathy in where the edits happened, in the sense of, no, even though you're saying you looked okay, you didn't, so let me remove this, in that type of a good faith, if that's how I'm going to look at it. But empathy, I think it's something that needs to be embodied a little bit more in humanity, and regardless of the industry you're in, I do think that empathy can really help people understand each other a little bit better. And the fact that it is still something that's overlooked or ignored can really cost a lot more. For example, in this case, it cost them a co host, it cost them a business relationship there. Sure, you're protecting, quote unquote, the bag, and that's fine. But in the long run, look at what came out from that. Look at how different people look at the entire situation. And it is, it's so funny. We're talking about the divide, right? There's so much divide out in the world. And even then, even in that concept of women empowerment and a movement, there is still some form of a divide. And so maybe in an instance like that, and in scenarios like that, where we may find ourselves as women in different industries, maybe if we do practice a little bit more the concept and the value of empathy, we're going to be able to understand each other a little bit more when we're looking to each other for some help and not necessarily speaking it. Perhaps. I don't know. That's just how I feel it, and that's just how I see it. But I wanted to shine a little bit of light on the whole concept of empathy because I don't think it's given enough value. Just on me on that one. I want to continue the conversation because and this is going to be, we just jump right in. I didn't even start off with the whole segments, but that was totally the first segment. It was as raw as it gets. We're going to go into the double or nothing. And this one I kind of gave the subtitle of the Band-Aids Ripped. And speaking of the internet and speaking of, trolling, okay. Recently, one of America's favorites, Chrissy Teigen. Okay, is it Chrissy? Whatever the fuck you say her name, Teigen. My girl, she be trolling sometimes. Okay, and I'm a little bit shocked. With this whole cancel culture shit, my girl apparently had been trolling for years, right? And she had trolled someone and told them basically to go kill themselves, to go off themselves. Yes. And this is not like the first time she does this. It was done on Twitter. And here's my thing. I'm all for the trolling, like, when it's fun games, you could troll people and whatnot.
Do you watch the Frenemies podcast?
I do not watch that. I do not, but maybe I should.
Oh my God. Listen, I only listen to 2 podcasts. And this is one of them. And the only reason why I know a little bit of what you're talking about is because they talked about it on the show, even though I don't really follow that stuff, to be honest with you. But one of the hosts, Trisha Paytas, broke down the difference between trolling and like being like a sociopathic, like you have an issue. And she said was trolling is done when you intentionally know that you're trying to ruffle feathers and you never like there's a line drawn. You don't go over the line, you toe the line. When you go over the line, that's when we venture into, oh, you're not good here in the head. Because guess what? Chrissy Teigen was 26 years old. And she also, and I don't want to, this is like fact. I'm not making this up, and I'm just observing the facts. I don't want to tarnish anyone's, even the psychos. Oh, Chrissy. Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to call her a psycho because out of respect for actual psychopaths who are living great and fine. But she was 26 when she wrote a 16-year-old girl a DM in private. The DM that she sent that person was like to kill yourself to a 16-year-old. Like, even if you didn't know that they were 16, to say that to anyone, when you're 26 years old, you're old. I don't know. That's old enough that at that age, there's something not right. You know what I mean?
She knew what she was doing. I'm sorry. 26.
Yeah, that's it's just unusual behavior. And I'm not a fan of, uncovering things in the past and then like, crucifying people 10 years later. I'm actually not a fan of that. I'm also not easily offended and also may not have been you know what I'm saying? There are other things to keep in mind, but like to tell someone to kill them. What do you have the exact quote?
I actually don't, because I was searching it. I think it like fucking disappeared from the fucking internet. But she's actually an actress, a 16-year-old. The 16-year-old is an actress. She's in the industry. She's someone huge, and the only reason why I'm not saying her name is because I don't want to butcher her name. But let me pull it up right now, and I will totally read it if I could find it, because I was searching for it. I was like, what exactly did this woman say to this poor 16-year-old? Let me see if I could find it.
I mean, I don't want to say also like, poor 16-year-old girl. Yes, because she's a child. But I mean, apparently this person got married at 16 too, to like this like 50-year-old. I don't know. Or was he 8? Was she 18 at the time? Don't listen to me, man. These are all alleged.
Brianna's like, I'm just alleging. Well, that's the thing though. Chrissy hasn't just stopped there. She's been doing this to other people too. Like she's been crossing the
Yeah, and
line.
then she quits the internet and then she
And then she
comes
comes
back.
back, and I think she does it in hopes that people forget what she has done.
That's what everyone does though.
When?
They
Who?
like when they get canceled, they're not really ever canceled. They like always kind of come back. Like that's why I'm like, does cancel culture even really exist?
Well,
I really don't even think that it's real at
what
this
do you?
point. Cuz also people are throwing around cancellations that are like unjust. Like this one is just. There, and this is what Trisha was talking about. Like there's a difference between canceling someone like legit.
Right.
There are reasons for cancellations like Woody Allen,
True.
like abusive women and children. That kind of stuff is no,
You're
you're
done.
done, dude. And this one falls in line with we don't how often do you hear people say to kill yourself?
Right.
That kind of stuff is up there,
Right.
bro. Like that I don't know, that is sus. To have that resurface is something that's like, oh girl, I don't know if you're gonna be selling these pots and pans at Target
Well,
anymore,
Macy's let her go.
baby.
Macy's was like, we're done with you. Yes. Macy's was like,
Really?
no,
Yeah.
we're done with this contract. You're not selling pots and pans here. That's it.
Yeah, man. Listen, it's tough. It's tough. I was just talking to my girl Weezy about this. Like people who put their stamp their names on things, like, and this is
Yeah.
unrelated, right? But like Macy's let her go because of
Okay.
branding. You know, if you see if there's a cancer in the
You
business,
gotta let it go.
you cut out the cancer, right? And Weezy was saying something about like not putting her, like not wanting to put her name on
Right.
everything
Right.
because people really will tarnish your name. Events and people and things will tarnish your name. Like, how do you come back from
Mm-hmm.
this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you come back from that? Speaking of people who are like immune to cancellation, not to go back to him, but Joe Biden's been like, there's so much other things that are more criminalizing, and he's been like unscathed. You know, so it's like we pick and choose, man. We pick and choose what we deem is right and
Right.
wrong, good and
Right.
bad.
Honestly, if
You
I'm gonna
know,
be honest with you, I don't think I think he's been going on his IG lives to save face maybe, but I don't really think he's concerned or scared of what type of sponsorships or ads he's going to be losing because till this day, I just don't see he's been losing anything for any type of actions he's taken or any type of behaviors, which is why I think he's just proceeded with life doing whatever the fuck he wants with whomever he wants. You know, and
yeah.
this is the thing. This is the part where, and we're going to dive right into the conversation right now, the difference between holding people accountable and then condemning them like forever. I don't, again, I don't,
Wait, was this really the next topic?
yeah, it's on the agenda.
Okay, okay. Smooth
It
transition.
falls all together. Like, are we holding people accountable for their bullshit? And because I think, oh my God, no, we can't because we're going to condemn them. No, hold on a second. We have a higher power who, like, says, what's justice, just, and that's it. Cool. And I just don't see what's the problem in holding people accountable and taking a stance, even from a business standpoint. Like, do you want to really have your name attached to someone who is wishing a 16-year-old to go off herself? Like, do you want to have your name attached to someone who is sexually harassing a female on a recording, like blatantly?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. We live in such a time where who you work with. Listen, I just dropped a
oh,
manager because of certain things like that, like, I don't, without getting too
yeah,
into it, whatever, just very misaligned. We're just like, darn,
yeah,
wow. Who you have around you is important. Like, you will catch that shrapnel.
mm,
You will catch that. If you see how someone acts in private and they may not be acting that way towards you yet, just know that the way that person treats other people is how they're going to treat. Oh crap, I was just, dude, I was before this call, I was listening to the latest Brilliant Idiots episode, and they said that. This is why it's coming to my brain. Like, don't be surprised when the person that you work with who treated other people crappy will then in turn treat you crappy too when push comes to shove. So like, who you have around you, who you work for, who you work with, says a lot about you, whether you like it or not. You know, like, oof, it at the end of the day, that's gonna affect you. It's gonna alter some things for you. And in this business, at least in entertainment, right? Like, I work in entertainment. Like, you are, like, your brand, you're thinking about how this brand will live after you pass, after you know what I'm saying? Chances are, if you're trying to get entertainment, you're trying to make the big bucks. You're trying to gain wealth. Let's call it what it is. Like, it just is what it is. Whether you're a journalist on TV, an actor on TV, a producer on TV, it doesn't matter. If you're in this business, you know how much money there is in this business, especially if you hit gold, if you hit a gold mine. So like, I don't even know where I was going with this.
It's about who's around, how your brands, what your
yes,
the
yes,
stamp,
oh yeah, yes,
the
yes, yes.
stamp, the stamp.
There's a lot of money involved. So because of that, you're gonna catch some sharks. This business is not for the faint of heart. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I can only speak for entertainment, but I'm assuming it applies to other things. Who you have around you, who you work for, who works with you, eventually defines who you are as well. I mean, I'm not talking about like life and stuff. I mean, professionally only, branding, you know? But anyways, that's all I got to say about that. like, and if you don't hold your people accountable around you, you're going to let them do some fuck shit. Like, for how long? Oh, I keep swearing. I'm like depressed.
No, you're not depressed. That's not depression.
No. I'm coming off of a really sad bender. Like, so I don't know if you or the listeners, excuse me, I just burped on the mic, have depression or like mania, some kind of
I am consistent with my therapy. I have suffered from depression in the past, and recently I did disclose it during my very dope live show that I was a few steps away from getting put back on medication.
What medication?
I don't disclose that here. Just to be,
okay.
Just to be respectful of just certain topics that I'm not yet ready to highlight. But I was
oh wow, we call those healthy boundaries.
Yes.
I don't have them. I don't know what that is.
I do.
What's a healthy boundary?
I'm practicing these days. I'm practicing to have a little bit of boundaries. I am just for my mental, just kind of like not calling on it.
I wish I had that. I have the opposite of that.
Really?
Easy. Not to make this about me.
No, it's okay.
I have the opposite. I don't have that, like, that gene, that thing that like normal people have. That's like, let me not disclose that. Why? That, Brie, this is a lot of information. Why? Or like that thing seems so indicative of like a sane person to just like have healthy boundaries, to not like trauma dump on people. I don't know what that's like. I have the opposite. I have the urge to want to entertain you by any means necessary. And I'm in the business of making connections. And like, I only know how to do that by like be having no filter. So anyways, I'm not on Lexapro, but I'm about to be. I'm about to be. No, well, your girl needs to.
That medication was definitely on the table for topic of conversation. It was.
Lexapro?
Yes. It's just I don't know if it's like the aftermath of like pandemic, working in healthcare, running a podcast show. I don't know if it was the whole combination, and then just questioning a lot about my parenting and just being with my child, strictly with him for the last 2 years without a single break of him going with his, like, it was just like one after another. And it was just, I had to get like really raw with my conversations with my therapist. And she was just like, I'm getting a little bit concerned here on how you're coping with things. I'm getting a little bit concerned here on how you're feeling and what you're expressing. My moods. my moods, and I don't want to make this that type of an episode, but just since we're disclosing some information here, there was some raw conversation, and so I fear getting a medication, and this I have shared on my platform, and I actually it inspired my little ebook of my journal to self-love. I once did become addicted to painkillers for some time after my first separation, because it just brought me so down, and so I fear getting on medications and being dependent on it, um because I may abuse it, to be quite honest. So that's where I try my best not to have to. Like, so much so, the last time I got wisdom teeth removed, I lived on Motrin. I refused to take like the heavy hitters because I was afraid that I was gonna become addicted again, because that's how it happened the first time. So, yeah. It's like that.
I
Yeah, so it's like
see.
that. So you sometimes have to, be self-aware to what you can do, to what you can't. How much what else do I need to
Do
do
you
from a therapy
trust? Do
standpoint?
you?
You know? Let me look at all other
Um,
options before I have to depend on a medication, because I know what has happened to me in the
have
past.
you have you tried? Well, I mean, listen, and I again disclaimer: don't listen to me. I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor. I'm
Yeah.
not
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Have you considered microdosing?
I have not. I've definitely been asked about it. I have not.
Do your research. Read
Yeah.
about it. Read about the psilocybin
Mm-hmm.
microdosing, like as a
Mm-hmm.
substitute, as not a substitute, as an alternative medicine to treat severe
Mm-hmm.
depression. I don't even think severity, throw severity. I think it just says
Just
like
depression.
depression,
Mm-hmm.
PTSD, um, certain, yeah, yeah, certain, I think I have to read the article, but there's this article that the BBC has on. Some you can just Google it
Yeah.
and you'll find articles
Yeah.
on it. But maybe like read up on that too, if that would be
So
a
so
route. I know a lot of previous addicts use ketamine
mm-hmm.
now
Mm-hmm.
as a
Mm-hmm.
treatment. Those K treatments that it's a controlled space with like a
Yes.
doctor who administers it and
Yes.
stuff. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We may need to do some research here. I mean, I definitely want to, and to be very, very transparent. I think that's where it's definitely led me to get in touch again with my faith too. Just figuring that piece that's missing for me, and just balancing life out. I think that's where everything has led me.
Hallelujah.
It
Amen,
has, it has, it
sister.
has. Like, this shit ain't easy. And like, when you're like, who the fuck was supposed to anticipate a whole fucking crazy ass year in healthcare? Not me, not nobody. I think I didn't expect this shit to hit me like it did. So it did hit me in certain ways that I did not see coming. I just didn't, to be honest. So I've had to really, my telehealth therapy sessions have definitely been more frequent, twice a week now. And thank God I have a great insurance that offers me that for free. So yeah. Yeah.
Girl. Oh,
I mean,
lucky.
listen,
God
I'm gonna take
bless.
it. If it's there, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna work through it. And okay, so we discussed the accountability. We discussed the whole condemning shit. Who are we to condemn? We're not. Um, I want to touch one last dose on this. The forgiveness piece. Do we see any possibility? I mean, who the fuck are we to forgive? Chrissy Teigen or Joe Budden? But I mean, do we really see forgiveness happening here? Like, do you think with this whole cancel culture shit, people are really gonna stand by it? They're just gonna keep watching, tuning in, liking, supporting, following?
I don't
Like,
know. That's a tough
mm,
conversation.
mm,
I don't know. It's not even about, I don't know,
yeah,
man. Like, well, those are two different things. Like, what's the button stuff and the Tegan
mm,
stuff are two different
mm-hmm,
things. But first of all, who is the group that is responsible to forgive? Like, for the button stuff, it's like, honestly, don't apologize to
right.
me. Like, don't that doesn't like, can I be? I feel really bad for your
That's
fans,
the part. There we go.
and I feel bad for like the fans that are disappointed by what like it being exposed after being exposed in such a way. The fans that were in love with you now have to deal with that kind of like icky feeling, like
Mm-hmm.
to even put your listeners in a predicament where they may need to let you go. It's kind of like I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, we are. I mean,
Yeah.
we're when you're choosing to go on a public forum, you are technically a public figure, whether you have a blue check or not, right? And so just being on a public
Oh,
space.
don't tell
I
me that.
mean, listen, I just feel like if I'm choosing to come on a microphone every single week, I'm putting my shit out there publicly, right? And so it's not that I'm supposed to walk on eggshells and watch what I say. No, it's more like if you have listeners, if you have viewers, you do just sometimes have to just be mindful of that before you make some pretty fucked up choices. And I know, like I say, I joke around. I'm like, well, who the fuck am I? He doesn't need my forgiveness. You know, she doesn't need my forgiveness. I've liked several of her tweets. I followed her on Twitter. You know, Joe Budden, I've tuned in. I've supported. But now it's like, ugh, can I really support him anymore? I can't. I just don't feel like I can. Not even from his musical time. Not even from that far back. Like I can't. I cannot when it's pretty obvious there has been like you said, the whole trolling definition versus like the whole like when you go over it, he just went too far beyond for me, and I don't know if there's any coming back from that. It was the first
First
hit.
of all, what should have been the last straw was legit beating up your wife, your
Oh
like
girl,
your girlfriend, whatever. Like alleged. I don't know that,
alleged.
but like allegedly, We've canceled people for less.
Yes. We're gonna go into the last segment. This is the overdose, and this is usually when we go on a raw rant on something that either pissed us off or something that has us on a good fucking vibe. And so, Brianda, is there anything you would like to just share with the Double Dose of Raw Talk world or get off your chest?
Hmm.
I love that you look up at your ceiling. That's exactly what I'd be doing.
Yeah, like what do I? Because I don't know what I just try and
It could
like
be anything.
move on, like feel things and move
Yeah.
on from them. Typically, but this is making me get back in my like, what has pissed me off?
Or something great. Or something great.
No, I'm already. I want to talk about what pissed me off. Let me do that one though. It's more. It's more fun.
Okay.
Um. Okay, I got
Okay.
something. Oh, okay. You know that feeling.
Mm.
I have a question for the people. I'll pose it with this. When you're driving in a
Okay.
highway and there's a huge 8-car involved accident ahead. As you drive by, you are fascinated by it.
Yes.
You keep looking, you roll down, you slow down your car to see what's going on. You want to see the wreckage. You want to see blood. It's a little part of you. That same idea happens online.
Ooh.
I want to know what kind of wreckage would get us to stop driving the car and like get out and help
Oh shit.
instead of just gawking
Oh.
and
Oh
looking.
shit.
You know what I mean? What would it take? Um, and obviously there have been because of the reason why it's fresh in my brain is because of what we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to know if people could like take a second, like whoever's listening to this, and think about what would be that thing where you either keep on driving, stop and stare, or stop and get out and help. That's why I'm like dogpiling.
Agree.
I don't know what people's mental states are presently. I've suffered from, some really dark stuff. I don't know what that darkness looks like for other people. So just I don't know, when wielding that person did something bad and I'm hurt now, blah blah blah. Just because that's how it looks like now doesn't mean that one day it's gonna happen to you too. It may happen to you
Mm-hmm.
too. So I would just, tread lightly
Yeah.
and figure out what would get you to stop and get out and help and what will keep you to keep moving. If it's to keep moving, then like keep it moving, right? And live by that. But if you're really going to be someone who opens up and just disavows something, what's going to be the thing that gets you to get out of the car? Because for me, it's God, right? Because God is my ideal. I live my life through that. If I see myself venturing a little bit too much or doing
Mm-hmm.
gawking, just stopping and slowing around, if I see myself, catch myself doing too much of that, I know that I'm not living by God.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that, you know what I mean? But I recognize, oh, at the end of the night, I repent. Like I at that after that Twitter thing that I was like fucking going in on, at the end I was like, "Oh man, I don't want it to seem like like I really like I'm not living like that. I was just trying to be like vocal on on
You were
Twitter, you know what I
just
mean,
you were
having
just
fun."
hitting that bird.
Yeah, but I know when to stop, right? Like, because again, when I got those DMs from people, I was like, "Oh, I don't wanna instigate that kind of behavior either." I don't like dogpiling on people when they're down.
Right.
You know what I mean? Con lo que tú digas, like, what you came here to do, what you came here to say, and then, like, ma keep it moving. That's how it should be, keep it
Mhm.
moving.
Mhm.
Like, either get out and help or keep it moving.
Mhm.
So, like, anywho, I was just thinking about that, like, yeah. Well, for me, I know when I would get out the car and move, when it has to do with my God and women in
Yeah.
violence, women, children, that kind of those 2 things for me really get me to get out of the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah. I like that.
So, yeah.
That's a really good overdose, and I really like that. I want to add to that. And it's so funny you said that because I think where my first beginning started of not just walking, driving by and gawking and looking at what the fuck happened. I think I've always been taught, and it started in my home. You're supposed to call for help. You're supposed to step in to help, right? See if they need anything. Is everyone okay? We've always been taught like you don't just turn a blind eye. And I think that's where you have a great concept of that. And I didn't see this coming, but you're right. The internet being that wreckage. And what the fuck is it that we're gonna keep doing? Are we just there just to scroll, just to see it all burning down, burning up, or what have you? Or are we going to do something about it? So that's a great fucking overdose. I want to get something off my chest really, really quick. Okay. And this is totally just a little different from what Brianda just shared, which is fine. But I don't know if you notice, it's getting fucking hot outside. It's getting very, very hot. The weather's changing. And I thought, in the concept of, this whole thing respect to women, I did not foresee. Maybe it's because there's a whole summer we kind of missed out on really being outside and doing our thing and living it up or whatever, you know. But since when did, like, I don't know if you know about this, or if you've experienced it very recently, but since when did fucking catcalling still become a thing? Like, I stepped out today in a very professional, I thought, attire to an appointment. And when I tell you, I don't know if it was the area I was in. I don't know if it was, the way my slacks look with my blazer. I don't know if the top was just off the chain. But the amount of fucking catcalling I experienced today, and I was just like, what the fuck? I haven't heard mommy, mamacita, mi reina. I haven't heard all those things in such a fucking long time. And I don't know if it's because we basically were hiding out for a whole fucking year, just being cautious with no outdoor events, no outdoor gatherings. But it did. And the reason why I'm mentioning it today is because we're actually talking about, the approach on women and what's harassment. And so I say that to say, y'all, can we just like filter out a little bit of the fucking catcalling? Can we just have a little bit of respect? The same way I don't like unsolicited type of pictures in my DMs or private messaging on Twitter or Instagram. I just, this whole catcalling shit, like let's not start this all over again. Let's not do this all over again. We had a pretty okay summer last year. We did the best of it. But it's just like literally when the sun's out, buns come out, and I get it. Like I get it. I get it. We're gonna go to the beach, we're gonna go to the pool, we're gonna be tanning and doing our shit. That's not a fucking open door for me to get at least 7 cat calling names in a radius of 2 fucking blocks. Like what the fuck? Like, and I'm wearing a button down shirt.
Okay, Miss
Like,
G, we get it. Quit
no,
rubbing it in our
I
faces. You're
can't. No, but
hot.
I
We
can't.
get
No, I
it.
can't. It was just like, seriously?
I literally get catcalled 0. I do not get
Stop it.
catcalled.
No.
I'm not. I really listen, I don't know what kind of like I have like a gray cloud over me or something because I don't get asked out. I don't get no, I don't even get catcalled.
Brianda, I'm going to blast somebody right now. I'm
What?
not going to say his name. I dealt with someone. I had an encounter with someone.
No, you say his
I can't
name.
say his name.
Say his name.
I can't say his name.
Say his name.
All right,
What? How many syllables? How many
fuck it.
syllables?
We're gonna call shit. We're gonna call him D. That's what we're gonna call him. We're gonna call him D.
Okay.
I had an encounter.
Why are we giving him your name,
No,
bitch?
that is The first letter of his name.
Oh, okay. Oh, got it. All right.
First letter of his first name. Sir, you do not text me for Mother's Day saying Happy Mother's Day with a gift that says I love you when we just had an encounter. Like, that was just too much. Like, you don't just throw in I love you gifts and little memes and shit. Like, you don't do that. You just don't. It's either I'm gonna look at you as you're trying too fucking hard, or you're just being completely fucking foolish. And on that note, I have not seen him again. I just can't. I just can't. I just cannot. I just can't. It's just sometimes too much, Brianda. Like, I can't do it, boo. No.
It's just too
sometimes
much,
it's just
Brianda,
too
yeah.
much. Like, I'm just 35 years old. If you're going to send me a gift, why don't you send me a gift that contains, like, I don't know, your 5-year plan and what you plan to build with me? How about that? Let that be animated for me on an Excel sheet, maybe. I don't know. Like, send me something like that. I don't know, but I cannot do the I love yous. I cannot do the hearts. I just no. I need substance. And so the cat calling, no. Cat call me the reservation you made for us to go out to dinner. How about that?
I want to be cat call. Okay, you guys, don't cat call Miss D, but cat call me, please. Please and thank you. I would like to be cat called.
Is that all you want,
cat call
though?
me.
But is that all you want? Just the cat calling?
No, but some kind of attention sometimes is fine. And like, I'm not gonna act like a little angel. Like, and I know this is like, you know what I mean? And I'm not even trying to be funny right now. It's not even a joke. Like, objectify me a little bit. But like, just don't cross the line.
Well, they crossed the line for me. After the mommy and the mamacita, it comes comments of my titties. Like, it's too much.
Why?
It's too
Why
much.
you gotta ruin a good thing, boy?
Do it right. Not what you say, it's how you say it. I've said it 3 times at least in this episode. I can't. I'm done with it. I'm done. But shout out to my boy Core.
We're done.
Shout out to my boy Core, who did send me a very entertaining unsolicited dick pic that he got. And I totally was entertained yesterday with it. It was amazing. I just want to shout him out real quick.
No,
Yes.
no unsolicited D's. Now that's also a sexual assault.
Those are, but thank God I didn't get it. Somebody else did. They just shared it with me.
LOL.
All right. So this has been a great word. It's been a whole word this whole episode with you, and I appreciate you just coming on here and entertaining my listeners, and just we digged a little deep. I appreciate that. Y'all, shout out to Brianda. She got me a little bit out of my zone. She did. You did. You helped me. You helped me disclose a little bit more, and I like that. Not many guests can do that here.
Ooh, well, girl, miss girl. I don't know. I just like I like meeting new people, having combos.
Yeah.
This
was good.
That's
it. It was good. No, thank you. Can you tell my listeners where they can tune into your show, where they could follow you and find you? Very respectfully.
For sure.
For some catcalling.
Yeah. And please catcall me, please catcall me. My name is Brianda. Mm-hmm. I host a Bible Stories podcast called, you guessed it, Bible Stories with Brianda. You can find me and everything Bible Stories related at Bible Brianda on everything. However, my personal accounts on everything is at That's Brianda. So Bible Brianda, and then That's Brianda.
Brianda, don't be asking people for catcalling and then tell them all, for all other personal stuff. Reach me at.
Well, yeah, no, send the catcalling to my personal account. Just send those DMs to the personal. Don't send them to Bible Brianda. Just send them to my personal one. Stuff that are outside of Christian content. You know what I mean? Because, you can't separate my Christianity from me, but not all of my listeners want to read about the word.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. I wish they did. But anyways, yeah.
All right. Well, this is fun, everyone. And as you know, this has been another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast. I am your host, Misty, and you guys will tune in next week. Bye.
Bye.